what you had been talking about, the research in Nepal, and how does it make a difference if the research has been conducted by any other professionals than psychiatrists? Like, how would it be different if the research was conducted by somebody from public health or pharmacology or a psychiatrist?
Thank you very much for the question.
Thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't make any differences on the psychiatrists and psychologists should be involved with the research. They are doing it, it's very good, we are very proud of them. And a big congratulations to them for their research. But I wanted to just stimulate my fellow psychiatrists and fellow clinical psychologists to work in this field as well. Thank you.
We just want to again highlight that there's a lot of comorbidities and that we cannot neglect that. So it's just again stimulation. We are trying to encourage our fellows that this must be looked into. Other mental health issues should be looked into also. Yes, sir. There we have some question.
Pointed out the high level of involvement of the reward systems in the social brain in the development of this behaviour problems. I suppose one of the things I wanted to say is that the point at which particularly boys are going through late adolescence and becoming interested in the internet is also the point at which the frontal part of their social brain is developing most actively. It's going through a very high rate of synaptic pruning. So I guess the question is, because we know these two factors go together in the brain, what are you doing to prepare a package for young people and for families to become aware of this so that they can have behaviour change?
Topic, and then it seems that the whole world is trying to grapple up with the subject matter, and then they're trying up with all the treatment modalities too. So that's why we wanted to bring up this topic, that maybe we do not have the treatment modalities, but maybe we can do something for prevention. That's what we want to bring this matter to everybody's awareness. And there were some suggestions that I want to make. I thought that it's high time that we make some socio-cultural norms, how to use and when not to use, and all these things, right? So this we have been talking about means maybe we need to define the social norms, how much to use, just like we won't be talking loud in front of others. So similarly, maybe our politicians, our social scientists, they need to think about it, and we have to work together. The thing is that we also highlighted about how who are vulnerable. So these are quite clear, like broken families, the parents not spending quality time with the children. This leads children to indulge into the internet. So we're trying to give these messages that maybe we can do something in the prevention aspect. We don't have all the answers for treatment aspect, of course.
I also have you mentioned
Yes.
You mentioned as a risk factor the personality traits like anxious, avoidant behavior. And when I see the young people in Germany with internet problems, addiction problems, I would call it addiction, then I sometimes ask myself, what is the hen and what is the egg? So if several years they make the nights the day in staying at the internet, and during the day they are sleeping, they have no social contacts anymore, they don't have social skills anymore, they don't know how to engage in social relationships anymore. And it's very difficult to come out of this. So I'm also asking these Nepalese studies, the sample were medical students, so they are completely different people from whom I see in Germany with internet addiction. And with your new study, what is the sample there?
The study that we have been doing is on in medical students of Academy of Health Sciences, MBBS students. So we have collected the data, but we have not analyzed. Currently looking at those symptoms, there are looking at the data of the results from the Google Forms. I saw that the children who were anxious, avoidant to talk, and we have been using the anxiety scale there as well, and who seem to be depressed would be more prone on using the internet, because they would be more comfortable on interacting in internet, and they would be more involved in the solitary activities. So internet would be one. So such kind of data has come, but we have to analyze the whole data.
Okay. And you are very right, Martin, that medical students are a special population, so that we cannot generalize to everybody.
Okay.
But this is a type of study that is ongoing. Yes.
Okay, with all this, I would like to congratulate
Chair and co-chair. We have a session continues. Before the break, I have one small announcement. We have a parallel session going on in Hall B, the same hall that we had yesterday, and there are two different presentations there. The first is maltreatment in the early childhood, consequences for mental health and cost for this society, and we'll try to remain seated for the next couple of sessions here. And thank you so much, and again, would like to request to facilitate the session further. Thank you so much.
With a scientific session. Before that, I would like to request for the order. I would like to hand over this scientific session to the chair.
Now I would like to welcome Dr. David Sims, and I'm especially happy that he's here with us today because we know since a very long time. He is a consultant child and adolescent psychiatrist working in the UK and working also with Prime as a self-funding educator in mental health, and has HS Foundation Trust in UK. And his special interest is intellectual disability and autism, and he will talk about development of a parent training program to us today. Thank you very much.
Good morning, namaste. I'm able to talk to you today about how we have developed a parent training program over the last 15 years, initially in my part of Bradford and then across the UK and internationally. I have some free copies. I have one more free copy of our CD-ROM and three free copies of our teaching materials on the side there. So it's I will probably present this one to Kanti, but the paper versions you can look at and see whether you can use. So today I'm going to talk about how we came to do this. I'm going to talk about working with parents, and then some bits about what we've learned along our way, and how it's been useful for us and what we gain from working with parents. But first of all, I want to introduce you to one of our parents. You might understand why I haven't managed to bring her with me in person today, but she's one of the parents we have. So how many of you in the room here are parents? And how many of those parents have spoken to another parent about how to how it's going bringing up a child? And how many of those one? So parents are really, really good at speaking to other parents about bringing up a child. So I want to introduce you to my
I also have a younger son, he's 17, called George, and he was diagnosed when he was 3 with autism and developmental delay, which is the same as learning disabilities. Now, so my 22-year-old is at university, he's doing his master's degree. He got a first in his degree in advertising, and he's doing his master's in PR and media studies. Doing really, really well. He's got a girlfriend, he has a job, he's going to pass his driving test, but he was really hard work when he was younger. I could have had a conversation with him at 18 months of age. He was just unbelievably intelligent, but really full on. Star-shaped at the top of the door frame, kind of hyperactive and whatnot. My youngest son, my youngest son was diagnosed before my eldest son, because I didn't even know what autism was at all.
Spectrum. The parents were experts in the problems they were having, and they kept saying to us, what we really need is some training as parents. So we initially developed, with a little bit of funding, a course, and we were able to employ an assistant psychologist to design it, and I worked with her in developing the course. And this was the very first slide that we showed in the first course with parents. When we were developing the course, we were really interested in how to help parents with children on the autistic spectrum. And so we looked at some of the autistic approaches, and already at that time there was an approach with young children based around child development centres called Early Bird. But we were also very influenced by the work of Hilton Davis in terms of engaging families, and particularly looking for mothers to be involved in supporting other mothers. So Hilton Davis has the Helping Families program, and this was very useful in refugee communities in the east of London, in a range of very low-income UK communities, in developing support networks, finding particularly mothers who would be able to get alongside other families. And during this program they used this idea of developing parents to be group leaders for other parents. And it's this idea that you all show that parents are the best people for talking to other parents about a range of support and things. So Cigna has developed out of building parents' knowledge of their child and developing positive childcare experiences. We use all the latest knowledge on autism and behaviour management techniques, and that's why we keep refreshing the course every few years. We present the course in a very relaxed fashion, so there's always drinks, biscuits. One of my approaches is to turn the chocolate biscuits over, because there's a great concern about the calories in sweet things in the UK. But if you turn chocolate biscuits over, they have no calories if you can't see the chocolate. Oh, that's worked a bit. But essentially we're developing an environment where parents can talk to each other. And most of the parents groups that we have, when the professionals go away, the parents keep linking to each other. And social media can have major problems linked to the internet problems, but it's been really clear that it's also a great source of support.
Children at 8 months, and then 18 months, and then 18 years later, they could predict problems like self-mutilation, borderline behavior, intense anger, substance abuse. How are they met by the healthcare system? They are currently diagnosed with an average of 3 to 8 comorbid disorders. So they have, they don't have a specific disorder. they have many and parallel disorders. And Bessel van der Kolk, who is one of the researchers dealing with this problem, says that this many comorbid disorders diagnosed, it obscures the clarity of the etiology. Why this behavior? Because if you get many, you get bipolar, ADHD, depression, anxiety disorder, you don't know what was the etiology. And Bessel van der Kolk also said a mislabeled patient is likely to become a mistreated patient. So I was going to give you some examples from the brain research done by Martin Keicher at Harvard Medical School, and I just do it briefly. And when I listened to the man from UNICEF yesterday morning, I think he actually made the same points. So his question, Keicher's question, what brain structures are affected by exposure to childhood maltreatment? Does the type of maltreatment matter, or are they, will they differ, or are they all stresses and giving the same pattern? And what is the relationship between childhood abuse, brain challenges, and psychiatric illnesses? That was his questions. And to just say it short, and the same as the UNICEF guy said yesterday, he found four main effects. The one is that the string between the left and right hemisphere in our brain, you know, our right hemisphere is mostly our emotions and our images, etc. And on the left side, it's the speech center, the logical thinking center. And then we have a corpus callosum, which is the string between these two hemispheres. But this is diminished. And if you have a smaller corpus callosum, you are more inclined to do the borderline splitting and to shift between the logical and rational state and to highly emotional state, and you are not balancing. So the corpus callosum helps us balance. And then it is, and the other finding was this enlarged amygdala. Amygdala is actually a gland in the limbic system. It's what we call our fire alarm system that helps us detect whether something is dangerous or not. And then creates this stress response into fight and flight. If you have a chronic enlarged amygdala, you will always, we have these children who is always scanning for danger. They always look around on the edge to see whether there is danger here. And what does that do to a child? Because it reduces his ability to concentrate, his ability to connect, because if you're scanning for danger all the time, you don't have time for exploring, thinking, understanding, etc. So that was the second. And the third was that it was a reduced hippocampus, which the hippocampus is also where our memory system is. So, and it was also a reduced prefrontal cortex. And this means that, you know, we are all born with a very, think of a baby, and you know it has a very sensitive alarm system, and it needs somebody else to help them regulate the alarm system. So when the amygdala is activated in fight, flight, and freeze reactions, we need hippocampus and prefrontal cortex to orient ourselves and to compare with earlier experiences and with our knowledge, and in order to regulate ourselves down. So when you have a reduced hippocampus and a reduced prefrontal cortex, and then also an enlarged amygdala system, you have no emotional regulation system to help you. And Teichner says, childhood maltreatment is the most important preventable cause of psychopathology, accounting for about 45% of the population attributable risk for childhood onset psychiatric disorder. So really it's such a huge effect upon mental illness. And I also like this quotation that trauma affects an adult brain, but it organizes the child's brain, which is quite something different. It has so much serious effect upon a child.
ICDP तालिमले अनि मलाई चाहिँ यो खेलहरू चाहिँ फुलहरू गर्दा पनि केही झ्याउ लाग्दैन अहिले चाहिँ हैन पहिला चाहिँ एकदमै ढिक्क लाग्ने अहिले चाहिँ मलाई एकदमै यो ICDP तालिम लिइसकेपछि म आफै त्यो सम्हाल्न सक्छु जस्तो लाग्छ मलाई चाहिँ
ICDP लिनुभन्दा अगाडि चाहिँ मैले त नानीहरूसँग समय अलिक कम बिताउँथेँ तर जब त्यो लिइसकेपछि नानीहरू बुझ्नुपर्ने हुन्छ नानीसँग अझै धेरै समय बिताउनु पर्ने रहेछ भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ यो ICDP
that ICDP has been very helpful and successful in this one. And just I want to show you one more stories that we had heard. One of the ladies, she came, like her child had a CP, cerebral palsy, and the child cannot walk and cannot talk. So of course she was really stressed because she was a single mother. And then when she was a single mother, the child had got a lot of beating and hitting. And she happened to come to ICDP program, and in the first session she cried so much, because in the first session we talk about how do we empathize with the children, how do we feel for them, and then she tried to put herself in the child's place, and then getting all those physical punishment every day from her, and then gradually she changed, and after some time the child asks, why are you not hitting anymore? It's just a miracle. What is happening? She just asked with the sign, and mother again cried so much. And then this was a photo. The child can actually not stand, but she stood for, because she felt really this program had changed her mother's heart and her behavior towards her. So this ICDP has been remarkable in preventing maltreatment, but it's a good intervention program, and that we have seen good results. So I'll just give you just few data of existing things. Those things, but then doing alone is not so effective. So they always work together with a group of 8 to 16 parents. And so we have reached until now recorded 1,733 caregivers/parents. And so until now, these are the organizations that have been participating: United Mission to Nepal and Save the Children. They have taken one of their program, and they have implemented ICDP as the project. So they are doing intervention in 4 districts. So all the things they do is ICDP with those parents who are coming from difficult background. And Teach Nepal, Higher Ground, ABPS, Tiny Hands, EHM, Purna Nepal, SOS, ECTC, CP Center, CIVIS.
Any question you can ask?
Now? Yeah? Okay.
My name is Pravin, and this question goes to ICDP. I forgot your name, sir, but sorry for that. My question is, I see in the slides it is only focused to teachers or maybe parents. Why not to family? And again, another question would be, are you planning to cover more people? I mean, not only based on few schools, I mean, more like community.
We started in 2014 and educate many more. And since we have all these other organizations also on board, I think Save the Children has also now a research program following it. So we will certainly try to cover all over Nepal, or I don't know. But when you say we cover parents but not families, I don't know really what you meant.
Not sure families, but I saw teacher, maybe parent, but not sure family. But my question is more towards broken communities. I mean, more covering more people. I think.
What our stand is, so what we do is we work with NGO who have parenting program. We try to influence them and empower them so that they can put it in their program. But the other aspect is also, there is also this community who can pay. So we work with a lot of private schools and principals and teachers, and because they see the need, they face the challenges in day-to-day life. So then we train them with charge, and then they will run the program in their schools with the parents of that school. So that is our approach. But at the same time, we have like trainers. It means that we can offer the training wherever is needed, at least in Nepal. But at the same time, what we don't do is we don't look for funding to expand the program ourselves, but we like to partner with the organizations who are already working in that area, and we are ready to partner with any organizations.
The facilitators, is that the course that then they deliver to the parents? And how long is that?
They give approximately 20 parents in the group. Yeah, I forgot to say this program is recommended by WHO and it has been implemented in 55 countries now. So it's a huge program.
And has there been, in other countries, has there been follow-up of the effects?
Yeah, it has been research especially in Colombia, and now there is a research going on that covers Nepal, India, and Philippines. So it is to show evidence of the effect.
And we have the presenter is Sunlima Tuladar, who is a child rights defender and works in child protection issues and sexual abuse. But I heard that she was not able to come, so I'd like to welcome the representative for Ms. Sunlima Tuladar.
Namaste and good morning to everyone. I'm standing here on behalf of Sunlima Tuladar, my executive director of the organization. Unfortunately, she could not come today. I also work for CIVIN, and my name is Kumar, and I'm the program director of the organization, and I'm the spokesperson of the organization also. Organization Child Workers in Nepal, CIVIN Nepal. It is the first organization, pioneer child rights organization in Nepal. It was established in 1987. So, being the first child rights organization in Nepal, it came up with different model kind of programs. So, Child Helpline is one of them. So, how it was initiated by CIVIN? It was 1998. We started Child Helpline. It was the felt need at that time. Children were being still many problems. We are continuing the same problems, kind of trafficking issues we have got. Children are being trafficked. Children are being exploited. Child labor exploitation is there. Physical abuse, sexual abuse, a lot of problems that children are facing, and they were facing at that time also. And in these days, we were talking about the internet issues. So internet has become another problem these days. But however, we have been facing this kind of children for many years that the situation of children in Nepal are not, that is very much encouraging. So in 1998, it was very much felt a need to have one mechanism that can address the situation of children, especially the children at risk. So it was 1998, SIVIN initiated the child helpline, SIVIN child helpline, and from the very beginning, it was a proven program. It was highly popular, and we started to respond a number of children, and we drew the attention of the government also that why not to make it a mainstream child protection mechanism for the government side also. So that has been the advocacy from the very beginning when we started the child helpline. So coming to 2007, government was ready. It was also felt by the government that it is to be there. Some kind of mechanism, some kind of structure is to be there to address the children at risk. So that was very remarkable year for us to 2007. So in 2007, government took over the child helpline as the national program for child protection. So now what we did then, so it became the national program for the child protection, number one, and second one, we tried to make a common toll-free number for South Asian region. So we tried to make the toll-free number 1098, which had already been in India, and we got in Nepal also. So it is very fortunate that this is the area in South Asian region. The movement of children is here to there, trafficking issues. So whatever the movement children have in negative sense, so it is the South Asian region, and if children are known to this number, if they are exposed to 1098, then it is easier for them to get the services. So that is how we try to make it the South Asian number, and fortunately we got the 1098 the number. So 1098 became the number, toll-free number for us, and government started to run the child helpline, and it has been very good initiation, having that is civil society organizations and the government together to work for the protection of the children. So the basic concept of helpline is to ensure children's right protection through interventions like emergency rescue, relief, protection, and psychosocial counseling. It is very important concept that is the basis for child helpline. So partnership and coordination, it is definitely the government of Nepal, especially the Ministry of Women, Children and Senior Citizen, and Central Child Welfare Board.
I would request the chairperson to take over the scientific session.
This session, our first presenter will be Dr. James Griffith. He'll be talking about family-focused care that strengthens the mental health of children. Dr. James is professor at Richardson, and the chair of it.
And I'm so glad to find that so many people in Nepal speak English, since I speak very little Nepali. What I'm going to speak about this morning is going to be a proposal You know, that one advantage you have when you're starting to build a mental health system is that you don't have to make mistakes of the past. You can look at what is best and start from that. And the proposal I've been making is give serious consideration to putting family-centered care at the middle. Now, this involves making the family the main unit you work with, even when you're treating an individual. And one reason for this is children. I think, I forget the statistic, is it 40% of Nepal is children? Yeah. Sounds about right. But 2 to 3 million have a diagnosable mental health problem, and I just got a photo with a room. He can't go around and be child psychiatrist for all of them. So what often can be a solution is, rather than trying to train enough clinicians for one-on-one treatment with every child, when you start working with families, you can use the healing potential of the family instead. Now, we talk so much about Nepal as a low-middle income country. You need to realize that in high-income countries, there are many regions that are very much like Nepal. I grew up in one, the state of Mississippi. There's 50 states in the United States. Mississippi is about a little bit smaller than Nepal. We only have 4 million people. I think you've got 29. But what we share is a very beautiful country with much poverty, few health resources, few mental health resources. When you rank all the states in the United States, Mississippi is at the bottom. The worst health care, the worst education, the worst economy, the worst most things, except at the very bottom, quality of life. People who live in Mississippi are glad to live there. Now, in 1985, I grew up in Mississippi, educated there. I went to Boston. I was trained in psychiatry at Massachusetts General, one of the Harvard hospitals, and but then came back to Mississippi for 10 years. When I got there in 1985, I realized that outside the capital there were no child psychiatrists. Now, there wasn't going to be a way we were going to train enough child psychiatrists, so instead, all of our general psychiatry residents, we really trained them to be skilled family therapists. We took 6 months out of the second training year, full-time child, adolescent family training. Now, whoops. Why did we do that? Well, I think I was told I would just share you a little quick case. So I'm getting my buttons mixed up here. Okay. There was a teenage girl who lived in a very small town, countryside, with her grandmother. Her father had died. Her older sisters had moved away to cities in the northern United States, like Milwaukee and Detroit. She lived alone with her grandmother. But she started having spells at schools. They were afraid there were seizures, so they sent her to the neurologist. And when she arrived, she immediately falls out on the floor and she's jerking. However, it was pretty easy to show that this was a non-epileptic seizure. She did not have Babinski signs. She did not have pupillary dilatation. You know, this was a conversion seizure. Now, there would be 2 choices. One would be that you would admit her and give her either with medications or psychotherapy treatment as an adolescent on the inpatient unit. Instead, the psychiatrist there, who was actually running the sleep lab, which she was sent to, was well trained in family therapy, so he said, who is with her? She had her grandmother there. There was another sister who was there. So he met with them. He kind of went around the room with 3 questions. Do you have any idea what may have, that he said, we're confident this is not a brain illness. It looks like it's something stress-induced, but do you have any idea as to what caused it? What might keep these spells going, or what would need to change for things to get better? And just briefly, this is what comes out of the conversation. She had, with her grandmother, gone for the summer to Milwaukee to stay with one of her older sisters. She loved that. She was in a big city for the first time. She had a lot of activities. She made new friends. The summer's coming. The mother's yearning to go back home to her old country home. The patient really did not want to leave. She would rather stay with her sister in the city. This would be, if it was Nepal, it would be like the grandmother and the girl lived in Jimma. And for the summer, they came to Kathmandu. And in the city, she loves being here. But the grandmother wants to go back to their home. So what happened? She did not say a word about it. She did not complain. She went back with the grandmother. But that's when the spells started happening.
Regarding the situation of child and adolescent mental health in Nepal, since yesterday, we have heard many presentations. So that the data I have presented here, I think, repeated time and again. According to Central Bureau of Statistics 2011 in Nepal, below 20 years children population is 34.9%. Whereas the world population 0 to 15 years children has covered 1/4 of the world population, and 41% of them live in least developed countries like Nepal. Regarding the prevalence estimation, WHO 2017 estimated 10 to 20%. Children and adolescents have mental health problem, and half of mental disorders begin before the age of 14. And then regarding the worldwide prevalence, earlier meta-analysis in 2015, there is 13.4% worldwide prevalence. In Nepal, there is no national level prevalence study. There are few small scale study we could have. According to Mohat 2007, the prevalence of Nepalese school going children is 14.7%, and then another study showed 15%, which was done by CMC Nepal in 2012. In Nepal, regarding the contributing factors of child and adolescent mental health, we could mention some more contributing factors. Like in Nepal, according to 2015-16 Department of Education status report, still there is below 50% learning achievement of 1 to grade 8 children. Like this, still there is 4.5% dropout rate. And in Nepal, especially, we could see everywhere. Physical punishment is somehow minimized, but psychological punishment is still somehow in terrible situation. Like this, there is no culture of listening the children. In school, home, in community, there is no culture. Like this, numerical achievement in school exam is only valued rather than life skill education. How to make a friend, when to ask if they have any confusion, where to ask, like this. There is no culture. And child protection policies, very few teachers, parents are aware. And regarding, especially child mental health is almost neglected. Especially in school situation, school scenario, most of the teachers, they have already, learned educational psychology in their degree, master's degree and then bachelor's degree, but there is no practical knowledge how to bring the psychology in the classroom. This is the situation, bitter reality, I think, in the context of Nepal. So that regarding, considering the WHO report, half of the mental disorders begin before the age of 14. I have stated the objectives of my study is to explore emotional and behavioral problems in primary level school students. The methodology, it was cross-sectional study, and then 50 government schools were selected for this study, 25 from Shalland districts and 25 from Koilali districts. Students were selected at least 2 grades from each selected schools, where school management committee agreed to implement school mental health program. Actually, it was a baseline study of CMC Nepal for 2018 to 21 phases school mental health program. And then all students of those selected schools, selected grades were taken as a sample, and then TRF was filled of 1,547 students, 856 from Salem and 691 from Kailali districts. Among them, 50.6% were boys and 49.4% were girls. 2 students were excluded from the study because they were below 6 years, and the TRF is only for 6 to 18 years of age.
I really like your presentation, Doctor. I'd like to know from you, because we work with family as well in the organization that I work in, and I would like to know if you worked on something, because the families, they're often not acknowledged for the work that they do, because they sacrifice so many things to look after them. They sacrifice their job, they sacrifice their education, because that's that sort of thing that we work with. So I would like to know if you've come across that and what you've done to acknowledge them, the carers or the families that you worked with.
Yeah. Well, I really come across it. We have a project in Appalachian, and likewise there's very little respect, there's very little acknowledgement from the rest of the country. So instead of asking them the question, if we work together, what do you want to change? I asked them that other question about, what are the things that you're doing that have kept the problems from getting worse? That's usually a respectful question. And then I want to ask them, tell me about what is a good family, in ways that you're striving to be a good family. And I ask them questions about, what are important challenges that you've overcome? And I learn about what they've overcome with the challenges. And in these conversations, I think what comes across is a lot of respect. Now, another level, I think, of what you're saying is that probably and these may be your mental health workers, I can imagine it would be the social workers, that people are working with families. It may well be that your work is not getting acknowledged a lot. That it probably would be what you would want to build off of in the system. Here I'm kind of addressing if you put a system together, kind of at that policy level. But, okay, so if I were here a little longer, and I would just do a little ethnography, and we check in on how patients are being treated wherever, I'd be looking for who already is seeing families. What are they doing? And have they already learned some things about how to be effective with it?
I think we cannot take any more questions for this session, but I'm sure you can interact informally.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rufi, for your wonderful presentation.
PhD in Human and Natural Resource Studies from University of Zurich and Kathmandu University. So I'd like to welcome Ishanita. As we could not see the presenter, now we'll move on to the next presenter. The next presenter is Mr. Sajanman Maharjan, and topic of his presentation is feasibility and acceptability of passive data sensing. This engaged in mental health care and research with an aim to promote psychological well-being of Nepal, and currently is engaged as a research coordinator for a project called Sensing Technology.
Introduction. Namaste everybody. So I'm going to present our study on the feasibility and acceptability of passive data sensing technology to assess maternal and child mental health and development in rural Nepal. So there are a lot of people in the study team, you can see, who are associated with different organizations and academic institutions. A little bit of background first. So we all know there is a very close relationship between child and maternal mental health. It is very much intertwined, and the health of the mother is closely linked, and it affects the health of the child as well. In context of Nepal, we know there are a lot of women in the postpartum period who are suffering from depression. So some of the studies have indicated there are around 5 to 12% of women suffer from postnatal depression, and we know suicide is one of the major public health problems in context of Nepal, and among that also majority of suicide happening is with under the age of 25. So they are mostly adolescent girls and young women. So early detection and management is very much imperative to help the mothers who are suffering from the problems. So TPO has been doing a program for improving mental health care called PRIME in Chitwan district, which aims to integrate the mental health services in the primary healthcare settings. So within that program, we have like a introduced healthy activity program developed by WHO to help the mothers. So I want to go into the objective now, the objective of our study. So the objective of our study are twofold. So we know there is an existing gap to inability to evaluate what exactly goes on in caregiver and child interactions during the implementation of interventions like the HAP. So we wanted to assess the feasibility and acceptability of the digital devices for the studies, and then like after doing the feasibility and acceptability study, we want to develop the mobile health platforms to help the health workers to deliver the interventions in a much better way. So we have completed the first purpose, the part of the study, and I will link it up with the ongoing study in Chitwan, which we have just started. So we know now there is a lot of technological advancement recently. All of us use internet and mobile devices for communications. So we know like there is a development of digital sensors. For example, in our mobile device also there are a lot of features which can track the digital traces that can help in the monitoring and evaluation. To give you the very like simple example, like in our mobile there is an accelerometer. So with that sensor we can track how many steps we are taking every day. So we know like at the end of the day, like going to the bed, how much physical activity in terms of walking we have done. So in high-income countries, these kind of technologies has been used in the laboratory and hospitals, and there is also some studies now going on in low and middle income countries as well. For example, in South Africa, we are doing a similar kind of study as well. So I just want to show you this table, the theoretical foundation that we have used to collect the data from the digital sensors. So the psychologist Yuri Bronfenbrenner, he has developed this ecological systems theory to understand the child development. So in each system, like there are certain things like the activities which can be monitored using the sensors.